We're live. Fuck off.
We're live with Firewatch. We're watching a fire. You don't see a fire right now.
Hasn't started yet.
Nope. Get this party started. So yeah, Firewatch is a game for PS4 and PC developed by Campo Santo. It's a narrative-based game, narrative-driven game. You're not killing anything. You're not shooting shit. You're not, bludgeoning anything with a fucking weapon.
Stealing
It's
cars.
all about the story. And, yeah, we're going to try not to spoil too many specific things with the story, just so everybody knows. So this is the very, very, very beginning of this game. Well, sort of. But, so yeah. If you played games like Gone Home, you get it. So yeah. What do you want to start off with?
The first thing to start with this game is probably the art style of the game, everything that you see in the game, because that is, I think, the thing that is the most unique about this game. I didn't know at first when this game was first announced, but a little ways into production, I was looking up, I was wondering when this game was coming out, because the game was highly anticipated for me. And I was looking into the game a little bit here and there, and I found out that Ollie Moss did the artistic direction, and the game's art, the mountains in the background, the trees, the rock, everything is based on the artwork of Ollie Moss. And as a guy that I heard about before the game came out, a fan of his. He has really cool style, especially in this game. It's like it is cartoon animated, but in a way that's like, it's not too silly. It's this really cool sort of what's the word? Kind of impressionist based in a sense of like a nice depiction of the wilderness here, and what is this? Wyoming, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I thought the artistic style, the artistic direction was really cool. I really like playing through the game and just kind of taking in the sights every now and then. But and this isn't a artistic thing. It's more of like a game design thing. At some parts in the game, I did feel like there wasn't much to look at in the area. You get to some areas and it felt like it was a bit barren. Like here, you're in your lookout tower. There's things you can rotate 360, and there's everything there. There's all kinds of things. It's filled with stuff. But in some areas, when you're out in the open, and it might sound kind of dumb, but it feels like there's nothing there. Like there aren't too many trees. It's just like an open little meadow area. But even then, it just feels a bit barren with animation in a way. But like looking out the windows now, it looks really cool. I love the like shading, I guess, to like later on in the game. This isn't a spoiler for anything, but there's a fire, because this game is a Firewatch. It's loosely inspired from like actual fires, not like the story, but just actual fires out in Wyoming in the 80s. And the way they animate the smoke and this kind of haze and like fog in the morning in some on some days. I really like that. I love the everything about the art style in this game.
Yeah, I can agree with that. This is probably one of the most interesting games, I guess you can say, visually. This game is incredible to look at. And honestly, this is probably one of the most immersive games that I have ever seen. In terms of, when you really truly get out and start walking around, you just kind of get soaked into everything. It's really, really, really cool. What'd you think of the dialogue?
The dialogue was
between mostly just Henry and Delilah. So you play as Henry. Delilah is the lady on the other side of the walkie-talkie.
So, I mean, not giving anything away. It's any description that you would read of the game. Henry's kind of down on his luck, and he takes a summer job as a lookout at this Wyoming park. And Delilah is another lookout, and they just communicate back and forth through their walkie-talkies, radio. I think it's called radio in the game. I always call it a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, me too.
But they communicate back and forth, and I like the dialogue. I mean, that's really what keeps the game going. So you don't really have anything else to focus on in a way. I don't want to say that in a bad way, but they don't give you anything else to be like, oh, well, there's this. It's just that's the main point, so you kind of have no choice but to focus on that. But that's not to say that it's bad in any way. I got caught up in it a few times. There were some times where I'll be walking around and just looking for something like, can I go up to this tree? Can I, L2? Well, I played on PlayStation 4, so I think on Xbox is it going to be the left trigger? Probably, I think. Or no, this isn't on Xbox.
If this game
Never
comes
mind.
to Xbox.
Never mind, this isn't even on Xbox. I don't know what I'm thinking here. But L2 on something, and, it doesn't even bring up dialogue, but I was just always found myself looking for, can I talk about this? Can I talk about that? I was trying to look for things just because I also kind of wanted to get the most experience out of this game, the most in-depth experience. So I was thinking, like, can I talk about this? Can I talk about that? I want to, get everything out of this game because I went in, like I said, very excited for this game, and I wanted to explore and, go through this and find everything I could find, talk about everything I could talk about, and I thought the dialogue was very, it captured me in the game, but I think there still is that point of, like, that's the only that's, like, the main thing in the game. So it's not like, you have a choice, but it is really, really good. Great voice acting from the Sissy Jones, right, from The Walking Dead, and a guy from Mad Men that I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I forget his name too, but he is from Mad Men. I agree. I find the dialogue to be very good, and if the dialogue was bad, then this game wouldn't be as good as it is. The dialogue is kind of what makes and breaks everything about this game, and it's very good. It's extremely convincing, and you feel it makes you feel part of everything. Especially later in the game, the dialogue is extremely good between you and Delilah back and forth. It's just very, very, very well done in terms of voice acting. Trying to think, what'd you think of just exploring? Because I found this game to be very enjoyable to just explore and just soak in everything about the world. But I wish I could have done more of it because I felt the game rushed through the story a little bit in terms of getting from day one to whatever. It would skip a couple days or sometimes a bunch of days in between, and I felt like the game was rushed a little bit. I know they wanted to keep it tight on the narrative, but I wish maybe there was a day or two there where I just kind of could dick off and just do something stupid and explore. But the time that I was able to explore, I thoroughly enjoyed. So what do you think about that?
I didn't really explore, to be honest. I just was going along with the story. I was caught up in the story. I didn't think about, I'm going to go off and do this. I just thought about the story will take me to where I want to go, and I'll see this, and on the way I might have a look about, see what's going on. But I mean, I didn't. It wasn't something that really occurred to me like, oh, I want to check this out, I want to check that out. I just kind of went where I went, and by the end of the game, I felt like I kind of saw everything that was to be seen.
That is true. And by the end too, you kind of had the whole map memorized in a way.
Yeah.
Like you kind of know where you're at, and if I go down here,
like it
I
looks
gotta
big,
go that way.
But like by the end of the game, you're like, okay, well that's that area,
Yeah.
and it just feels so familiarized.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought was really good. Without getting too super spoilery, what'd you think of this story?
I thought the introduction was good. I thought there was a lot of rising action. I thought the story was mostly rising action.
Yeah.
A lot of suspense building. One of my favorite how do I say this? One of my favorite ways of conveying like a horror theme or like suspense or mystery is that nameless, faceless evil. You know, sometimes in movies you're watching and it's like, oh, well, that's that guy. He's going to try to kill you or something. But one of my favorite types of movies is like, you don't know what's there. You know, and it leaves a lot to the imagination. I love that this game did that you don't really know what's behind all this mysterious stuff. And you start to think. Like, at one point, I honestly thought to myself, was it like... You know, it has this feeling of like, is this like aliens or something? Is this the government? Is this not the government? You know, what's behind all this stuff? And I really like that. At some points in the game, I remember trying to find the firefighters that were in the bottom left of the map near this like old scout camp. And I remember the dialogue with Delilah back and forth. I kept like looking behind me, thinking like,
me too.
Trying to
Me
see
too.
it. You know, I thought like, am I going to get knocked out again? That happens at one point in the story, and that kind of makes you feel like, am I going to catch someone watching me? But you don't, which kind of, I mean, it would be neat if every now and then you saw like a shadow figure in the distance, kind of like at the beginning of the game, and that part was really creepy. But I really enjoyed the build-up. It's just... It felt the game was mostly build-up, and then the last little bit was like, okay, we're gonna like freak you out. The intensity... maybe I said that wrong. The story gets very intense, and then you kind of find out who done it, and everything gets wrapped up, and it feels like that's in the last day of being at the park. And yeah, the game does stretch out over, what is it, like 79 days?
Yeah.
But it jumps around. It's not like every day you have something to do. It's day 1, day 2, day 3.
You probably
day 10,
play
15, 30.
About maybe 10 days of the 79.
Yeah, like 10, 15 days. But to me, it felt that everything just kind of came right at the end, and it was... I really don't want to say this about this game because I was looking forward to this and I want to like this game so much, but it really, really disappointed me.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can say this without giving up anything in the game, any like the whodunit of the game. But that bothered me so much because it wasn't anything that was like, oh, okay. I mean, I thought as I was progressing along the game, I was kind of waiting for the Scooby-Doo method of like introducing characters, and you think like, oh, well, maybe you get an idea into that person's personality, like, oh, maybe they did it, and you kind of get that murder mystery kind of thing of like, maybe they're doing it. You know, I get to know this person, but there wasn't any. There was you and Delilah, like throughout the entire game. Everyone else in the game was just like a mention. Everyone else in the game was like an afterthought. Oh, they just mentioned, oh, there were 2 other lookouts in the park. Who are they? Oh, well, there's this dude and his son that got lost a while back. Well, who are they? Well, there's this camp out there that it has all kinds of technology and stuff. And like, was it Wapiti? center or a station, like, well, who's there? There are no mentions of like any people. It's just kind of like, oh, well, there's, some people here and there. And when it gets to the end, you're just like, well, I was like, really?
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more, but it really got me let down. I really want to go into it and be like, what the hell is this? And some things at the end kind of don't explain to me things earlier in the game. Like going back to certain things where they mention like, oh, well, there's this happened in the game, like I found this, but some things just like, well, that kind of didn't add up a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you think about this story?
I thought the story was incredibly engaging the whole time, especially the further it went on, the more engaging I thought it was. But I agree with you. I thought the end was just kind of unsatisfying. It kind of didn't make sense. It was just kind of whatever to me, which is disappointing because everything up to that, I was like, this is extremely interesting. And I like you, I kept turning around all the time thinking like, oh, is someone following me? This game gave me a lot of like chills, and this game made me feel like no game has ever done before. I've never played a game where I felt so immersed in this world and in this story where I was kind of almost scared to go out and do what I had to do. Kind of like as if this shit would... the stuff that happens in the game, if it would have happened to me in real life, if this was my job, I would have felt like this. Like I was playing the game. And that is incredible. I mean, this is... I just find this whole experience with this story to just be incredibly special.
It feels very natural, too.
It does. It feels extremely natural, and it's just... it just makes me that sad and just disappointed that the ending just couldn't really pull it off like I thought it would. Because I was thinking all kinds of different things, and then what actually ended up happening at the end, I was kind of like, all right,
and
fine.
Not only like I don't know how to say this. Like, not only the whodunit, but like how they did it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I guess it's one of those things that in video games, I guess you kind of feel used to the story revolving around you, and in this case, it just felt like it didn't revolve around you. It feels natural in the sense that I like that you're wandering around in a park and you're alone, and you feel alone because you are alone in the game, and you know that like looking over your shoulder aspect of it, and the communication with Delilah, because it just feels like you and her, you just, that's the kind of communication you might have with someone when you're just all alone out there, and it feels so natural. But it's one of those things, I guess, in video games where it's like you kind of expect to be involved somewhat in the end of things, like, okay, well, I knew this person, I knew that was gonna, but it's just kind of something that happens, and it almost feels parallel to your story, and they only come together at the end, and you didn't get to experience that other side of it as much. You just kind of, experienced it as an afterthought. You just heard mentions of this, and you're like, oh, okay, and it just, the part at the end comes together, and even then, it's not really like... I mean, you're involved in a little bit, but it just feels like two parallel storylines, and they finally kind of meet at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Which I didn't. I guess, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that you just feel pampered as like every video game. You're like, okay, well, I'm dropped into this island. I have to stop the dictator in Far Cry. I have to end the big conspiracy in Assassin's Creed. I have to stop the end of the world in Call of Duty. In this, it's like, you kind of feel helpless and
yeah.
And
that's the thing. I did feel very helpless. Like I said, this game isn't a horror game or anything like that, but it has such tenseness to it. Yeah, tenseness and suspense at various moments throughout where you almost don't want to keep going because you're like, fuck! But you do because you want to see what happens next because it's that engaging. And there's one specific time, you probably know what I'm talking about, where I was just wandering along and then a specific thing happened that literally scared the shit out of me and I kind of jumped. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? When you get boom, boom, boom.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what to do now. I feel fucked. Because...
Up until that point, it was like, I'm playing along, I'm out in the woods, and then it's like, oh, shit just got real.
Yeah, exactly. That's when shit got real. And
World Star.
And it's really hard to talk about this game, like Sam said, without getting specific. But I feel this is a story that everybody should experience. This is not a long game. This game will take you 3 to 4 hours. I feel this game is very special, and everybody should just play through it because I feel everybody will get kind of something different out of it, which is cool.
Now that we just kind of talked about the story and some of the things that were like, I don't really know how to feel about this, there are a few things that I feel should be mentioned that were just like kind of flat out letdowns about this game. Not just like, oh well, I feel this way about the story. Hiccups, frame rate. There were some things in this game that just, it didn't.
It's
frustrating. There were major frame rate issues in this game. It bothered me.
Walking through this exact area, like you're seeing the frame rate hitches right now, and to me, it's just completely. I don't make games. I don't know how to make games, but this game just doesn't seem like it's that taxing on the PlayStation 4 that it would run like this. It has to be an optimization issue, but they're running through this exact area towards. I was 98% through this game, and it froze on me right at the end, and I was so pissed off. I was like, "Why is this happening?" Like I went to pull up my walkie-talkie, and it just froze. I'm like. It's just frustrating, but it just kind of runs like ass. I'm sure the PC version runs fine, but on PlayStation 4, it just kind of runs like ass, and that's disappointing.
As well as another thing that when I finished up the game, I beat it in 3 hours. Like I got home that night, got off early from school because there was snow and like road conditions and whatnot. Got home about 9. Started playing the game at 9:30. About midnight, I beat the game, and I'm thinking, like, I remember I don't know who was saying it, but someone was saying, like, this is like a 5, 6, 7 hour game, and I'm like, I just beat all this in, like, 3 hours, and I feel like I saw as much as I felt like, that I felt fulfilled in what I saw in the game, maybe not in the ending or the story, but I felt like, alright, I played the game, I beat the game in 3 hours, and that kind of like I thought it was going to be like a 6, 7 hour game, even like 5 hours. That's an extra 2 hours that they could have like maybe rewired and involved a few things that were tied off some loose ends a bit, and I don't know that. I mean, that's not like major points off, but that's just a small thing, and I hope that Campo Santo, because they put out, this game has a ton of potential. I don't know if I want Firewatch 2, because I feel like this is a standalone thing, but if they put out another game in the style of this, maybe not necessarily Firewatch, maybe not, but I don't want to, it does feel like it would be a similar thing, maybe somewhere else in the world. You get to walk through a jungle or something. You get to watch over a forest, something like that they can expand, make it a bit longer. Maybe make it a more full feeling game. I guess tack on a few more hours, a bit more content, in the same art style. That would be awesome to make like a full game version of this, but not Firewatch in the same park, not Firewatch 2. But something, maybe, hell, I don't know, Australia. You get to watch over parks in Australia or something, and, something like that. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about their future.
I agree with that, but not every game needs to be really long, and I felt fulfilled. I think it took me about 4 hours to finish this game, and I felt it was good, but the reason why I wish it was a little bit longer is because there's no world like this in video games. Like, this is such a fresh and unique settings for a video game, and it's such a pretty looking game, and I just wish I could explore more of it or just have something to do. And I understand why it isn't, because especially when the story really starts to pick up, they want you to go from one thing to the next to the next to the next, so it means more. But maybe in the beginning or something, just something, man. Because I just love being in this environment. I just wish there was a little bit more of it. But I agree with you. I think Campo Santo has an incredible future. I mean, if they can make more games like this, and just, maybe, write another really good story, but make it come together in the end. I mean, they can be a really, really special studio, because this is a special game, in my opinion.
Ready to give a rating?
Anything else? You have anything else to say?
No, not really.
I think we covered just about everything without getting specific about the story. So yeah.
I think my two favorite things about this game are, one, well, I don't know, that's difficult to say. Well, I think the first is like the art style in unison with the natural feeling of the game. Natural being that you're out in, not just the art style that it looks cool, but that you're out in the wild. I love that. That's one thing that I loved about like Red Dead Redemption, that you're out in this like open world. I love that. I love using a compass and a map. That was really cool. Games,
yeah.
I mean, like I was saying before we did the review, like a lot of games are just like, okay, set the waypoint, drive there. Hell, in Grand Theft Auto, you can like bring up your phone and call a taxi, and you don't even have to drive there.
Yeah.
I love this feeling of like, self-reliance in the game, that you kind of have to explore, and you do feel helpless. And the second thing I liked, I liked a lot. What was the second thing I liked? I don't remember. I just got caught up in talking about the one thing I liked. But that was one thing I really liked. Just this natural feeling. And there were a couple things I didn't like, such as, frame rate, the story, maybe not feeling as, I don't know, maybe as natural as it could have felt. But all in all, I don't think those are major points off. I think this game at its best, like let's say the story isn't a bit wonky and the frame rate's fixed, and everything is like, ship shape. I don't know if I could give the game like maybe a 10 out of 10. I think if this game was like, maybe 9.5 out of 10. But given some of its, a couple dings here and there, I think maybe 8.5.
One last thing that I want to add is the sound in this game is it's pretty good, and it feels more natural because there's no music playing a lot of times or anything like that. But when the music does play, it's really, really powerful in my opinion, and very well done. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, 8.5's a great score for this game. I can agree to that. I don't think I will ever play this game again. I don't know about you. Just because I just thought this was such an incredible experience playing through it the first time. And because I know how everything's going to go, it'll always be kind of disappointing. And I will always remember how incredible this game was from start to finish, for the most part. But I don't know about you.
Maybe not to like pile on, to like say, just to feel like I'm saying bad things, but the game doesn't really have anything else to offer after you play through it the first time. Like, no offense, but it's a fun, really good game to play through the first time. And I remember the second thing that I really liked was the suspense of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I love that element to it. it's not a horror game, but it captures those horror feelings sometimes of like what's around the next corner without being like I'm gonna piss myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is an experience, I think, and that's one of the best kinds of games out there, rather than just playing through Assassin's Creed and I assassinated the 80,000th person in this game. It's not an experience anymore.
Yeah.
Awesome game.
Yeah, definitely. If you're in for just a good story, play this game. I think you'll get a lot out of it. I also think if you like Telltale games, you would probably dig this. You're not making decisions a lot of times that'll impact the story a lot. There are decisions, but nothing like a Telltale game. But just if narrative games in general, if you just like stories.
Yeah, these guys worked on Telltale: The Walking Dead, I think. The guys
yes.
at Campo Santo.
Yes, the lead guy, Sean Vanneman, I believe, he was the lead writer on the first season of The Walking Dead, the game.
If you had to give this game either an 8 or a 9, what would you give it? If you want to go the Angry Joe way of saying fuck decimals,
yeah,
what would you give it?
A 9.
Yeah,
I think besides the frame rate and besides, the kind of disappointing ending.
Wonky.
Yeah.
It's wonky.
Wacky as fuck. Firewatch. Go play it. It's $20 or $18 on PSN.
Yeah.